So our captain Bruno's got a bit of a grudge against Danny Murphy and has hit back at claims that he's not athletic. But is this just a case of sloppy punditry and maybe Bruno taking it the wrong way?
That's what will stop him being one of the best, because everything else in his game's superb. Great passer, technically gifted, but he's not a great athlete. I mean,
So that conversation came a year and 3 months ago. We'd just beaten Blackburn in the FA Cup on penalties. We were on the back of a 2-2 draw at home to Bournemouth and an awful 4-1 defeat away to Arsenal. It was the season where injuries took over and we were up and down like a yo-yo. Now, we all know how passionate Bruno is. It's what makes him the great captain that he is. And this stat, to have covered the most ground in the 24-25 season out of any other player, is incredible. It's a great one to be proud of. And he hasn't forgotten, and he's called out Danny Murphy for that comment ages ago. But with this one, I actually know what Danny Murphy was getting at. He's just not the greatest of pundits, certainly not one of my favourites by any means. And it's the way he's worded this in this conversation that has just caused this confusion and Bruno to be still angry a year later. And I've scrolled on TikTok and all I've seen is, not an athlete, but he's covered 420 odd kilometres. And again, how's he not an athlete when he's covered 421 kilometres? But for me, I think it's fair to say there's a difference between being an athlete, which of course Bruno is, he's a paid one and a very good one at that, but also being an athletic athlete. And look, that distance covered stat is one to be really proud of, and it's really, really remarkable to see that. But if you were to ask me, as someone who watches Bruno week in, week out, what his main attributes are, I would say he's capable of dictating a game, sitting in at times, passing quality, absolutely top notch. His duels won, his ability to draw free kicks, all great attributes, and he's able to fit into an Eddie Howe system where you have to run a lot and cover ground. If you were to ask me what I feel like is a different question, who the most athletic players in the Newcastle squad are, Bruno wouldn't be one of them for me. I'd go to the likes of Joe Linton. Bruno has got so many attributes which give our midfield balance, but he's not the sort of player who's firstly pacey and going to run past a man with the ball. Neither is he going to take us from our own box all the way up the other end of the pitch. And when that's happened on occasion, he's struggled a little bit and slowed down. Bruno, when you watch him play, can be quite slow at moving the ball at times. That doesn't mean he doesn't cover a lot of ground. That doesn't mean he's not an absolutely fantastic footballer and captain of our football club. But the athletic conversation, I think, is what Danny Murphy was getting at, and it's just been taken the wrong way. What I don't agree with at all is him trying to claim that Bruno would never be a top player because of it. He's already proved he's a top athlete now with trophies in the cabinet and Champions League football. Being totally honest, if you'd asked me which of some of the best Premier League midfielders of all time are actually athletic, I'd be clutching straws with these three a little bit. Gerrard definitely, but Paul Scholes certainly not. He wasn't going to cover every blade of grass on the pitch and drive the ball up. He was a fantastic passer of the ball and striker of the ball. Look, we defend our own to the hilt, and I love how passionate Bruno is to even remember this over a year on. But for me, you're a very, very fit athlete, our beautiful captain. Let's just forget about it, eh? Who cares what Danny Murphy thinks? Let us know your thoughts down below, Newcastle fans, and as always, keep the faith.